Welcome to Picks with the Professor, the show where a real statistics professor
and his cousin
gives you sports betting tips. I'm your host, Professor Sides, and for the latest updates, information, and picks, you can follow me on Twitter at Professor Sides, and you can follow my cousin Jared on Twitter at Cousin Jared. Today is Thursday, May 26th, 2022, and this episode covers today's best Major League Baseball bets. I'll briefly touch on the remaining game at the end of the show and extra innings. In case you're new here, I built a mathematical model for win probability, hitter and pitcher projections, and I analyze weather data in order to make one pick only on every game played Monday through Saturday. That doesn't mean I recommend you do the same. I'm just giving you the information as to what I like the most and where my head is for each matchup. As you go through the plays, remember that there are no locks in gambling, so we'll give you our loves, likes, and leans to help you decide which pitch you might want to play and how I recommend scaling wagers. With that in mind, please understand that good and bad variance will occur, so as much as I'd like to say we'll be profitable each and every day, that is an impossible reality for any gambler. Cousin Jared, we ended up with another profitable day yesterday. Not as good as Tuesday, but anytime you can win a few units, I mean, there's no complaining there, right?
Yeah, it's definitely been a nice march back up. You know, had a tough weekend, I think, but a very nice march back up the past few days. So that's been very good to see.
Yep. And someone made a comment on this. I just feel like I should say this because I want everyone to. Hopefully we're on the same page here. It's really tough to overall gauge wins and losses on some of the picks, especially based off what the model is, because of the line movement. That's why I post the information there. You can see how the lines move. And I'm just trying to give you all the information possible. Yesterday, there were about half the games that if you had looked right when it came out, you would have bet one side, and then the number moved. So I feel like you're going to have something
there. What was up with that Yankees line yesterday? Because you posted your information in the morning. I come in pretty soon after that, start checking the lines, and I'm like I literally thought about texting you probably as you were recording the podcast saying, what the heck is this Yankees line? And so I jumped on it. I thought I missed something. And then sure enough, a few hours later, you had a Yankees play. And so I thank you. You validated my thinking. Like stuff like that. Every once in a while, you'll get something like that that just makes no sense.
Yeah, there were several yesterday that it felt like I locked in, and that's what I try to lock in as close to this recording as possible because I want the lines to be fresh, especially for those of you who are watching this in the morning. I mean, I try to lock in. I copy that information over into a document just so I can see it all as we're talking about it. Hit record, upload, just get it up as fast as possible. And a lot of times, by the time I'm done, a line's moved 10 cents, 15 cents, in some cases even more. And so I'm posting all that information to just try to help you. But yeah, these lines move and it kind of creates some situations. I think I mentioned this before. It kind of creates some situations where I'm like, well, half the people that saw this are probably on one side and half are on the other side. So I don't even know what I'm rooting for at this point because of the line movement. So it's more fun for me personally. I don't know. It's more fun for me personally when a line doesn't move because then it's like, hey, we're all on the same side, or like my, what I'm recommending and what the model says, everything aligns. When it starts moving around, it gets really, really crazy. Anyway, before we get to today's slate, some reminders. Please hit that like button if you're on YouTube. If you aren't yet, please consider subscribing or following. It's free. And the only way to ensure that you don't miss any college basketball, MLB, or college football content that this channel provides, share with a friend if you know others in the game. Hit us up on Twitter or drop a comment if you're on YouTube. Love those and try to respond to as many as we can. And again, I encourage all my listeners to have multiple sports books in their portfolio, especially those reduced juice dime lines for the MLB games. These at your disposal. You should be able to find the edge on any game. The ones I recommend are in the show's description and on the website, www.pickswiththeprofessor.com/sportsbooks. Cousin Jared, I feel like we usually have you on here on a Thursday, and there's usually a ton of day games. Today, just one day game.
Yeah, this makes up for the one Thursday I was here where there was exclusively day games.
Yeah,
so I think we're still balancing things out from that week.
Yeah, exactly. That day game, 12:35 Eastern, first pitch, Cubs at the Reds. A game that might not happen. The weather looks really rough. There's hopefully a window they can get this in. More rough stuff coming through tonight. So this is a game that may or may not happen. So definitely just keep an eye on it. Again, for you DFS or traditional fantasy players. If it does happen, Justin Steele versus Hunter Green. Weather will be nice temperature-wise in Cincinnati, mid-70s. Winds blowing in from right field at about 12 miles an hour. So I don't know what to make of that with regards to the total, just because these are mostly over teams. It's definitely a hitter-friendly park, as you see on the screen there with that park factor of 108. But a wind following in, and two pitchers I kind of like to back. Hunter Green has not performed as well this season as he projects. I always mention with rookie pitchers, I rarely think they're going to be great their first year, but I think he's still better than his numbers. And Justin Steele, who's a pretty solid pitcher. So total wise, I don't really know what to make of it there at 8.5. Instead, I'll just play the Cubs minus 116. The model doesn't really think there's a huge edge here, but I like backing Justin Steele. I think this price is really short. I think the Cubs are the better team. Reds have been playing better lately, but I'll just take the better pitcher in Steele in this case at such a short price. Take the Cubs minus 116. Only a B pick for me, a pick I like, but not one I want to be over-invested in, given that the model thinks the edge is really non-existent. Cousin Jared, what are your thoughts?
I see what the model thinks of Hunter Green, but like you said, the stats just don't back it up. So I just can't quite get there with the Reds. But at the same time, it makes me feel good that you're playing the Cubs, but I just can't quite get there myself since the model doesn't have an edge on this. I do want to ask you, though, since you mentioned potentially whether can they get this game in, what would your thoughts be on like a first five under in this situation? You sound like you kind of like both starting pitchers. So just curious what you think on that.
Yeah, it's not a bad look. First five under would probably be the second favorite play on this one. I'm just a little hesitant given the park and given these two teams. They just tend to play more over games. At least with the first five, we avoid the Reds bullpen. Reds bullpen looked great yesterday. I needed them to give up some runs, and they didn't. But in general, that pen is not good. So at least with the first five, we avoid the bullpen. So I mean, that would definitely be a possibility. And then you just hope that the wind knocks down some home runs. But it's always scary to go anything under with the Reds involved.
Right. Yeah, I completely understand. Well, with all that said, I'm staying away from this game. I don't trust either team, but if I had to look anywhere, I think the first five under might be where I would look. It's at 4.5 right now. It's juiced to the under, but I feel better about that, I think, than anything else if I had to pick something.
Yep. All right. Yep. Makes sense. 6:40 Eastern first pitch. Yankees at the Rays. Nestor Cortez versus Ryan Yarbrough. We've talked about Cortez a few times. He's been fantastic this season. Yarbrough, a pitcher who's seen better days and at this point seems to be settling into just a below average pitcher for the most part, which is kind of disappointing. I kind of thought he could get back to some of his previous ways, but it doesn't seem to be in the cards. Model says Yankees minus 121. I'm seeing minus 120 out there. There's no first five market or team total market. So I'm going to hold off and not make a play just yet because I kind of think Yankees first five might be a better idea given the shambles that the Yankees bullpen is in. But I just want to see the numbers on that. I'll tweet out an official pick on that with some reasoning later. But I kind of like the Yankees. I just might rather have first five than anything. So I want to see what that number is before making a pick. Cousin Jared, what do you think?
I'm on the nasty Nestor bandwagon, people. What can I say? It pains me to say the Yankees are very good, but the Yankees are very good, and Nestor Cortez has just been unbelievable. And this may not be correct. I feel like the model looks fondly upon the Rays. I feel like it usually has a Rays edge more often than not, and so the fact that there's not a Rays edge here tells me something. I'm sticking with the Yankees. I wouldn't say this is my favorite play, but I'm confident enough in it where if that first five market comes out, I may kind of double dip here. So I'm officially on the Yankees for the game here. I may also jump on something first five if something catches my eye when those lines do come out. But yeah, the Yankees are very good. Nestor Cortez, very, very good. No Rays edge. That tells me something. So I'm on the Yankees here.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Great analysis there. The model does tend to like the Rays. And so the fact that it doesn't, I completely agree with you. Cortez is fantastic. Very well put. So, Cousin Jared, you're taking Yankees full game, maybe first five as well. I'm probably on the first five. I just want to wait until that comes out before making my pick. 7:05 Eastern first pitch. Rockies at the Nationals. German Marquez versus Patrick Corbin. Two pitchers who have been up and down, and this year down. Both of them with ERAs in the sixes. And we're approaching the point of the season where it's like not, I mean, it's a small sample size, yes, but we're approaching the point of the season where it's like, it's not 4 games anymore. We're almost at double-digit starts for these guys. And ERAs in the sixes. And at least Marquez, pitching in Coors, has pitched a little better his last couple of starts. But man, just not the pitcher that we expected him to be. And then Patrick Corbin, of course, as I mentioned, for the most part, struggling this year. One really good start, but otherwise it's been awful. Weather-wise in Washington will be about 70 degrees, wind blowing slightly across, so no wind effect there. Model says Nationals minus 115. Look, I don't know what the odds would have to be for me to play either side on this one. At this point, I can't back the Nationals, and I don't really love backing the Rockies on the road. So, I mean, that's just a complete stay away from me on the side. On this one, I'm going to take Nationals under 3.5 at plus 122. And I like under 3.5 with the plus odds rather than under 4.5 with big juice. The reason why is I think Marquez is pitching better lately, and the Nationals offense is bad. So I think it's a situation where he can get a nice get it going, keep moving the right direction, 6 innings, 1-run start. And then I just need the bullpen to not completely implode. I think that's about 50-50 of happening. So we've got great value on the plus odds here. I think 4 runs is less likely in this game than usual for the Nationals. That's not to say 4 can't happen, and 4 is still a very possible number. But I think in general, this game is more of the Nationals score 2 or 10 type game. And so I don't want to lay odds to get 4 included, because if Marquez blows up, then the Nationals are going to score plenty and we lose. And I know this is a shock to you, Cousin Jared, but we aren't going to win every bet ever made. And so part of being successful is protecting against those losses, right? That's where the odds, the price matters. And so for me, this is about a great price and saying we're going to lose some. I don't want to lose under 4.5 with minus 140 odds or something crazy like that. Let's just take the plus odds, hope that Marquez pitches well, hope the Nationals offense is bad. And if we lose big, then we've only lost the 1 unit instead of the giant juice. B pick for me, Nationals under 3.5 at plus 122. Because Jared, what do you got?
As we like to say around here, you don't have to watch it to make the monies, and I would not recommend watching this game. In fact, I would not recommend making a play on this game. At least if it were at Coors Field, you could talk me into there was going to be like somehow 15 runs, and it might get interesting. But playing in Washington, nothing about this game appeals to me. So I am just fully staying away from this game for all of the reasons that you said.
Yeah. But let's talk about Corbin being a bad pitcher, but the Rockies offense being bad on the road. It's just like it's hard to find a good angle on this one. I'm with you. If this was in Coors, you just say, I don't care what the total is. Let's go over and let's hope for some fireworks, right? But in this case, 7:10 Eastern first pitch, Guardians at the Tigers. Connor Pilkington versus Tariq Skubal. Weather-wise, we're going to be low 70s to start, upper 60s to close, with some rain possibilities. One to check the updates on, a game that may happen, may not happen, may have some delays. Winds will be blowing in from right center at about 10 miles an hour, so a little boost to the under on the wind. And 2 pitchers that the model seems to like here. Tariq Skubal with a nice, shiny 2.22 ERA this year, and his advanced metrics line up pretty close to that. Having a great season, a great pitcher to back, versus Pilkington, who probably only going to go 3 or 4 innings in this game, but so far he's looked good in his 9 innings of work. Projects to be fairly solid before they turn it over to the bullpen. Model says Tigers slight edge, but mostly a toss-up game. I am seeing Guardians plus 127. Total is 7.5. I can get under 8. I would like that. This is a similar situation to that Yankees game. The first 5 and the secondary markets are not up yet. And so I'm holding off on an official pick just because I want to see that. But first 5 under, especially if it's under 4, looks really enticing. So we'll see what happens there. I'll tweet out the official pick later. Cousin Jared, what do you got?
So I had never heard of Connor with a K. Pilkington. Yeah, Pilkington before.
It's for all those strikeouts, right?
Yeah, exactly. He was born to be a pitcher.
Yeah, exactly.
If I knew that he was going to go like 4 or 5 innings, then maybe I could feel good about the Guardians since there's an edge there. But if he's only going a few innings, is it enough to make me feel good about that play? No. So I'm just going to stay away from this one for right now. Maybe, like you said, a first 5 under 4 where he's going the majority of that time. Maybe that's something I would look at. But overall, without knowing that he's going to be able to even get like a quality start or something, then I'm just like, let's just stay away from this. Yeah,
based off the number of innings he's pitched in the minors so far, 5 would be the max I would assume from him. Yeah. Tigers offense really struggling, and so that's of course the hope. Maybe he gets some quick innings that can get 5, but it feels like we're probably going to be going to the Guardians bullpen early in this one, which
Yeah.
is kind of a mixed bag. I feel like that Guardians bullpen is sometimes pretty impressive and other times confusing. They've got a lot of guys who throw hard.
Yeah, let me ask you as well. Does it feel to you as if every other Guardians game has been delayed or canceled?
There's been a lot of them. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Obviously, across the league, it's been that way, but I feel like the Guardians especially.
Yeah. Weather in the Midwest, right, has been this
yeah.
time of year is very sketchy.
Yeah.
7:20 Eastern first pitch. Another game that might have some rain issues as it has the last few nights. Phillies at the Braves. Aaron Nola versus Kyle Wright. Two pitchers of love to back here. 70 degrees. Wind blowing in from right field at about 10 miles an hour, so a boost to the under there. And again, kind of as the last few nights, just some storms in the area. We'll have to see exactly, do they hit the stadium or not? How heavy is it? So some potential rain issues in that one. Aaron Nola, a pitcher who's been rolling. His ERA now, after a couple of early struggling starts, under 4. His advanced metrics better than that. Kyle Wright, a guy who I've loved to back. Advanced metrics, fantastic. Not that far away from his 2.50 ERA. Model says Braves minus 120. And so I'm seeing Braves minus 112. I think it's a pretty short number. So Braves, I think, makes a lot of sense. As I mentioned before, they have the better offense over the Phillies. They have the better bullpen. Starting pitcher-wise, as good as Nola is, I don't think Wright is that far behind Nola in Atlanta. This feels like yesterday. I made the comment on pod. I said the number that I was seeing for the Braves was like minus 134 or something. And I was like, that seems really short. And sure enough, I look back later in the day, and it's out to like minus 150. And this feels like the same thing. Minus 112 feels short. The model thinks minus 120. It wouldn't surprise me if this gets out into the minus 120s later today. The only reason it wouldn't is, of course, Aaron Nola, but it's not like Kyle Wright is anything to sneeze at. Right. And so I'm a little surprised the number's that short. I think the Braves make a lot of sense. But I'm going to go first 5 under 4. Odds are minus 105, what I locked in. And it's an A grade for me. I love both these pitchers. The wind's blowing in. The offenses are good, but I think having that push protection on 4 makes a lot of sense. I think this number should be 3.5. It didn't get there yesterday, but I made the comment with the Red Sox and the White Sox yesterday. We got that under fairly easily. Just because the game went over the day before doesn't necessarily mean anything for the next day. These two pitchers are fantastic. There's really not much more else to say than wind blowing in, fantastic pitchers. Let's go first 5 under 4, A grade for me. Because Jared, what do you think?
Well, I've got more to say on that.
All right.
But it's just a repeat of things that I've said on this show before. The first one being that I don't want to be involved in a Phillies game. Okay. Like I've just learned that lesson too many times this year. You know, they could score 1, they could score 12. So I agree that there is an edge on the Braves here. Honestly, it seems like a smart play to me. Obviously, I like backing Kyle Wright, but I just can't bring myself to do it. And also, I like the first 5 under even more, especially at 4. I can't believe that number is at 4 with these two pitchers. About a month ago, I stopped questioning anything you said on Kyle Wright, and I just roll with it. So you say first 5 under 4. I can't believe that it's even minus 105, like you said. So I am sold. I am with you on the first 5 under here.
All right, 7:40 Eastern, first pitch, Royals at the Twins. Daniel Lynch versus Devin Smeltzer. It'll be another chilly night in Minnesota, about 60 degrees to start, mid-50s to close, winds blowing across. So maybe a little bit of a boost to the under based off of the cooler temperatures, but not going to get any help there with the wind. Daniel Lynch, off the top of my head, might be the only average pitcher the Royals have. I feel like so many of them are bad, but about a league average pitcher at least versus Devin Smeltzer, who's got a shiny ERA only in 10 innings pitched, also projects around league average. This one was interesting to me when looking back at the last month or so. I always talk about the Royals offense and how bad they are, and they project very poorly, but the Royals have scored a few runs. The Twins offense projects slightly above average, but they haven't scored as much. I don't know what to make of that. I just thought it was interesting. The Royals have scored a little bit more than I've expected over the last month or so. Model thinks Twins minus 182, and so thinks the Twins have a solid edge in this one. Of course, they have a superior offense and a superior bullpen as far as projections go at home with the, equal starting pitchers. So lots of reasons to like the Twins there. Model thinks minus 182. I'm seeing minus 169. I think the Twins are a good play. Whether money line or run line, kind of whichever one you like. I think either one makes a lot of sense. My official pick, I'm going to go under 8 with a B pick simply because it's a chilly night and I don't trust the Royals offense, but the Twins haven't been scoring. So I think under 8 makes a lot of sense. But I'm really a coin toss on between under 8 and something on the Twins. It's both good and bad that the way I've set this up is to make one pick and one pick only on every game, because this is one where it's like, I don't know, I could give you like 4 picks that all seem like about the same and hopefully we win 3 of them type thing. But as it is, I picked one, but I like I said, I like Twins, run line, money line. I like Royals team total under potentially. I looked at that one as well. I'm just going to go full game under 8. I kind of like all of them about the same, all of them kind of in that B grade range. Cousin Jared, what's your pick?
So I'll take one of those off the table for you. I'm going to back the Twins here. To me, the Twins got swept by the Astros a couple of weeks ago, but since then they've come back and won 2 out of 3 every series against the A's, the Tigers, the Royals. Obviously, taking a series from the Royals there, but the A's and Tigers certainly fall into a similar category as the Royals do. So I feel really good about them winning this game. I'm going to lay the odds -169, whatever it is. I'm like you. I don't trust the Royals bats. I don't trust basically anybody on the Royals. I don't trust them as far as I can throw them.
Yeah.
So
pitching, hitting, nothing. Managing, nothing.
Yeah. And even like the Twins, you mentioned they haven't been hitting great, but they still got Kepler, the outfielder, who's been playing really well. So I feel good about laying the odds with the Twins here.
And I'm curious what you think about this. Sometimes early on in the season, teams have good, tough schedules or easy schedules, right? It feels like the Twins have really jumped out in that AL Central and like have a nice shiny record. And but like you said, you look at it, it's like they've been beaten up on some bad teams. And so it's like, I wonder how much of that is going to catch up with them or not. It's the record can sometimes be deceiving, but they haven't played anybody good since that Astros series. And maybe that's the whole AL Central. Maybe we'll just look back and say, well, the whole AL Central was bad. So everybody got an easy schedule in that division.
But maybe something to keep in mind as the season goes on, when they reach out and they play the Yankees or, they play the Astros, teams like that, that's when you can kind of capitalize. Maybe the odds aren't seeing kind of what we're seeing by watching so many games.
Right. Yeah. Maybe people are thinking, the record's, similar or something, but it's kind of a little bit of a mirage getting some of these weaker teams, especially early on, boosting that record. 7:45 Eastern, first pitch, Brewers at the Cardinals, Eric Lauer versus Adam Wainwright. Weather-wise in St. Louis, we're going to be in the mid to low 60s. Really no wind to speak of, about 5 miles an hour, maybe a little bit less, blowing out, but at such a weak speed doesn't do much for us. A chance of rain in St. Louis, nothing that's going to cause too many problems there. Model thinks Cardinals -107, which presents no real edge on either side. In a game, Adam Wainwright, we talk about him a lot, right? He continues to pitch well. His advanced metrics this year, not as good as his ERA. Of course, that's tough to do with an ERA under 3. Kind of just projects about league average going forward. I'm a little bit more optimistic about Wainwright than the model is. I think the model's just kind of pulling it down, saying he's old, and so he's not going to be as good, but he continues to pitch really well. So I'm a little more optimistic than the model. So if the model says Cardinals -107, I think maybe it should probably be more like -113 or something, just a little bit of an extra boost, because I think the model is penalizing Wainwright a little bit too much versus Eric Lauer, who's been fantastic this year. ERA near 2, advanced metrics very good, projects to be an above average starter going forward. So a nice story there for the Brewers, finding another pitcher and turning them into something better than anybody ever thought. My pick is going to be first 5 under 4. The odds are -120 right now, and that's an A grade pick for me. It's a chilly night in St. Louis, mostly a pitcher's park, as you saw with that park factor of a 94. And like I said, 2 pitchers that I like. I think that Wainwright is still got it, still pitching really well. Lauer's had a great season, and I don't see anything in Lauer's numbers that indicate that it's overly fluky. I don't think he'll be quite this good going forward. That's not really saying anything too crazy. But I think he's still a good pitcher. I'm going first 5 under 4 over rather than the game total under 7.5. A couple reasons. Number one, I always like to see where I can get that push protection here at 4 rather than the full game. If there's an 8, I'd probably like the 8 better. 7.5, knowing extra innings is a possibility. I think first 5 just makes more sense. And on top of that, I still don't know if Hader is going to be back. He might be back or not. Who knows? And that kind of shapes their bullpen a little bit differently because the Brewers really rely on their top couple of relievers. Beyond that, they're very average. So I'll just go first 5 under 4, only worry with the starters, get out of Dodge, get our money, and move on. Cousin Jared, what do you think?
So the last part there, you took the words out of my mouth. So I think this is going to be a good game. I don't have a good feel one way or the other on this. So I'm staying away. I think if I did want to make a play though, I think the first 5 under is definitely the way that I would look. But the Brewers are good. I just feel like every time I expect them to score 2, they score 11. And if I expect them to score 11, they score 1. And so they're good. I'm not saying they're not. They seem to always, they go one way when I go the other. So I'm not trying to guess on what that's going to be today. I'm just going to watch this game. Two good teams, first and second place in the NL Central here. So I think it's going to be a fun game to watch, but I don't feel strongly about either side.
Yep. 8:10 Eastern, first pitch, Red Sox at the White Sox. Easy under win last night. I don't think tonight's going to be the same story. The starting pitching matchup is a little bit weaker than it was previously. Michael Wacha versus Dallas Keuchel in a game in Chicago that'll be in the mid-60s. A slight breeze blowing in, but only around 5 miles an hour, so not really a big boost there. Probably able to play, but some rain in the area. Wacha has a good ERA this year, but it's all smoke and mirrors, people. His advanced metrics are below average. He projects to be below average. I do not trust that ERA whatsoever. Keuchel's ERA is probably pretty accurate to about the pitcher he is. It's in the 6s. His advanced metrics are a little bit better than that, but he's, again, mostly past his prime at this point. Model thinks Red Sox minus 110. If I had to go with a side, I would pick the White Sox. My fear on this one is that the numbers are a little bit tilted to the White Sox because of Wacha's ERA. But again, I don't trust that. I think that's a mirage. So if I had to pick a side, I'd pick the Red Sox just because I wouldn't back Keuchel. But at this point, I don't really think there's a great edge either way. I'm actually going to flip. I went under yesterday. I'm going over today, and it's an A pick for me on over 9. I think these two teams are going to get back to their run-scoring ways. I don't think the Red Sox will score 18 or whatever it was they did 2 nights ago, but I do think they've got a chance to get to double digits off of Keuchel and whatever then the White Sox throw out of the bullpen. I think neither pitcher's very good. I think just there'll be a lot of runs. I think we're going from an under game yesterday to an over game today. That's straightforward. Cousin Jared, what do you think?
I have so many thoughts on this game. So if this is 2015, wow, get me some front row seats.
Yeah.
This is going to be a pitcher's duel.
Yeah, under all the way.
Yeah, it is not 2015. I would be the opposite. If I had to pick a side here, I would actually pick the Red Sox just because
the Red Sox? I'm on the Red Sox.
Oh,
you're on the White Sox?
No, I'm on the Red Sox. I thought you said White Sox earlier.
Maybe if I did, I misspoke.
Okay,
I'd be on the Red Sox.
So yeah, okay. So we agree. We would both be on the Red Sox if we had to pick a side. Yes, Wacha is smoke and mirrors, but like Keuchel, there's not smoke and mirrors. There's just
it's just bad.
It's not good. Yeah, it's just not good.
He didn't even have the mirage. It's just desert.
Yeah, and the White Sox offense, they can definitely go through some lulls. Mm-hmm. I would be on the Red Sox if I had to pick a side. I mean, I just checked. The run line for the Red Sox is plus 180.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, that's
enticing.
That is enticing. I may sprinkle a half unit on that or something. But I'm with you on the over 9 here. When the professor says play an over, you play the over, people. He doesn't throw those out like candy, so you got to take them when you can get them. So I'm on the over here. Agree. Both pitchers I don't have a lot of faith in. Again, I may dabble something on the run line on the Red Sox there, just because there could be a lot of runs in this game, and at that point, what does one run matter? Yeah,
I was just gonna say I really like that angle as well. If the over prediction is correct and there are a lot of runs, it's easier to win by more than 1 because it's just tons of runs everywhere. So I think at those odds, I agree with you. I think that Red Sox minus 1.5 is very enticing as a good value play. 9:40 Eastern, first pitch, Dodgers at the Diamondbacks. Mitch White versus Humberto Castellanos. White will be leading off a bullpen game. We assume he'll probably only go a couple of innings, maybe 3. The dome will be closed, or it'll be a nice night in Phoenix, presumably. Castellanos is a pitcher who's performed at league average. His underlying metrics and projection are a little bit worse, but really just kind of a ho-hum pitcher. There's a chance, we talked about, Strami there is their pitching coach, one of the best in the game, coming in this year and making some of those pitchers better. There's a chance that his results around league average is a little bit more indicative of him being now league average rather than the projection of a little bit below. So, that's one thought there. Bullpen for the Dodgers, a good bullpen, but at some point they've just been worked a lot lately. And so that's something to keep an eye on there. I don't know how many innings these guys got in them. If this was a month ago when we had the 28-man roster, it's a very different story than now. Back to the 26-man. And so on this one, I'm taking the Diamondbacks at plus 164, and it's a B pick on this one. I think the Diamondbacks make a lot of sense, a lot of different directions here. They've been a solid team for us here lately. The model thinks there's an edge here. And this one, you may not even have to run to the window for, because if there's more LA money that comes in on this throughout the day, which is common, you might actually get better odds than this. So maybe a situation where you put a little bit on the Diamondbacks now and kind of hold off and see if you get some better odds later. When these two teams played previously in Arizona, I think the Diamondbacks won 2 out of 3 close, low-scoring games. And so I think the Diamondbacks have a chance to hang in there and make this interesting as well. And if it's a tight game, I want plus 164, period. And it doesn't mean we're going to win tonight, but it means in the long run it'll be profitable. So I'm on the Diamondbacks with the B pick. Cousin Jared, what do you think?
So I think you hit on a very key point there about waiting on this one, because I think that you could potentially get better odds later on. Another thing that I'm looking at is, right now you can get plus 1.5 on the Diamondbacks for even money. If those odds were to move out a little bit more and maybe get up to like plus 110 or something, I think that's probably the way I would go, as opposed to, getting the better plus odds just for them to win outright. Just because, like you said, last time they played in Arizona, it was surprisingly a lot of low scoring games there. The Dodgers offense, I don't know what was going on. They couldn't get it going like they have against everybody else.
Even against some of the weaker Diamondbacks pitchers, it wasn't like they went up against like the top aces, right?
Right. So I'm watching this one, potentially a play to come later on. So, watch me over on BetStamp and see what happens. But potentially money line, potentially run line. We'll see which way the odds fall there.
Yep. 9:40 Eastern, first pitch, Rangers at the Athletics. Martin Perez versus Frankie Montas. Perez, every time we keep talking about the last several episodes he's pitched, how good he's been, and he has not let us down, versus Frankie Montas, who just quietly pitching very well again, mid 3.5 ERA. That lines up exactly with his projection. Advanced metrics a little bit better. Just going about his business, pitching very well this season. It'll be chilly in Oakland, as is the case most of the time for night games. It'll be low 60s to start, upper 50s to close. Slight breeze out, but not enough to really affect things in what is such a big pitcher's park. Model thinks A's minus 116. That presents no value on either side. And it'd be tough to get me to play a side on this one, because I don't want to go against either one of these starting pitchers. Honestly, if I had to pick a side, I might actually take the Rangers at plus odds, just because I'd say trust that Perez is, as good as he's been. If you can keep that rolling, if you got plus odds in a coin toss game. But I don't really want to fade either pitcher, so I'm staying away from the side. I'm taking full game under 7. It's got a decent amount of juice on it, but it's an A pick for me. I like 7 way more than 6.5. This number should be 6.5. And so the fact that we can get that push protection there is worth the extra few cents, in my opinion. Pitchers Park, bad offenses, great starting pitchers. I mean, it's a perfect recipe for an under. Cousin Jared, what do you think?
I can't bring myself to play a game with the Rangers right now, unless I'm going against the Rangers. But the A's aren't good enough for me to feel comfortable being on that side either. I'm very surprised here. So what did you have? You had under 4 in the first 5 there. Like the full game, or no, you had
under 7 for the full game.
Yeah, full game. So the first 5 is under 3.5. Like, I would have looked at that if that was like minus 110 or something, but it's not. It's minus 120. So almost just as much juice on the first 5 under as the full game under. So I just can't find anything here that I really get sold on. Definitely the under would be the way to go. I don't trust either of these offenses, but I don't feel comfortable with either of these teams right now. Although I did win with the A's yesterday, but I don't feel great about it.
Yeah, we got an under winner with the A's Mariners yesterday, so the A's can play an under game.
Yeah,
it's
probably will. I just I can't get myself there.
All right. That takes us to extra innings. One last game to talk about here: the Blue Jays at the Angels. A fantastic, storyline here with Ryu versus Ohtani. Two pitchers though that are just really going opposite directions. I have Ohtani as one of the best pitchers in baseball, top 5 projection in my system. Versus Ryu, who has a 6 ERA. I don't think he's that bad. I still think he's above average, better than average. But a pitcher who just is not what he once was. He had some fantastic seasons in the past. He's just not the same pitcher anymore. It'll be a chilly night in Anaheim, mid 60s to start, low 60s to close, 5 to 10 mile an hour wind blowing out. A game that I don't really have much of a feel for at this price. The model says Angels minus 147, so no edge on either side. If I was going to do anything with the total, it's really tough to do anything there because I really like Ohtani, but I don't like Ryu. And so I would say maybe the Blue Jays team total under, but I don't trust the Angels bullpen. So maybe you're looking Blue Jays first 5 team total under, but it's probably like 1.5 runs or something, which is like, a team can sneeze and get 2 runs. So it's there's not a lot I like in this one. I'll go first 5 Angels money line with a lean at minus 155, but it's not a pick that I'm excited about. At least that way I've guaranteed Ohtani versus Ryu as the pitching matchup, and we don't have to deal with the Angels bullpen. So that's my thought process there. Cousin Joe, do you have anything on that game for us?
I hate West Coast time zone game. I mean, I really despise it. I would love to watch this game, but I've watched enough Astros games on the West Coast the past handful of years to know that I'm going to fall asleep like in the 4th inning of this game. Yeah. It is I think it's gonna be a really good game. I can't wait to watch it. I'm not going to be awake when it ends. I can promise you. I don't know why the West Coast time zone is so far off of my own. You can go look at our Twitter profiles to see everybody's thoughts on which time zone you should be in for sports viewing.
Exactly. I think yes, sometimes on these Wednesday, Thursdays, we end up with the more day games and less night games. I always love the one day of the week when there's like one or no West Coast games. It's like, I get to see all the games. And then there's some nights where it's like there's 5, 8:30, 9:30, whatever starts. And it's just like, I'm going to miss like half of the baseball games tonight because they're just so late. I just can't stay up that late and get up early. Right. So, recap for me on the 8 picks. I've got the Phillies and Braves first 5 under 4, the Brewers and Cardinals first 5 under 4, Red Sox and White Sox over 9, and the Rangers and A's full game under 7. So 4 A picks for me, all totals. Cousin Jared, any parting words?
Do y'all want me to talk about Jimbo Fisher on this podcast, or do I need to save it for another podcast?
Oh my! We'll give you 60 seconds. Give me 60 seconds on Jimbo Fisher.
This is like, I love it. It's amazing, and like I don't love it from like I'm an A&M fan that I'm super excited that he's acting this way. That's not it either. I'm looking at this from like a macro college football fan view. This is great. And Professor, I have to ask you, how soon can I bet the A&M team total under in the A&M game and A&M and Alabama game later this year?
Unfortunately, I don't think those come out until like the week of.
Okay, like 3 units on that, whatever it is. Minus 150, that's great. I'll lay the odds.
They probably do have a number out for the spread on that game at this point.
Whatever the A&M team total under is, I'm going to be on it. It could be like 9.5, and I would be on the under. It's going to be,
especially after last year.
Yeah, it's going to be an epic smackdown. But anyway, I think it's great for college football. I mean, that was the best. That I have to say, that was the best press conference I've ever seen. Yeah, just I can't wait for that game. The kind of the hype that it's gotten around the season and everything. I think it's great. So as far as they're acting childish, but okay, yeah, whatever. I guess we expect that at this point.
I mean, it's fun. It's drama. It's something that's silly and entertaining. No real harm has been done, so we can all laugh at it and enjoy it, and that's really that's like the win-win. So little sneak peek here. I mentioned this. We're going to do 2, maybe 3 college football podcasts or shows, a week come fall. So looking forward to those. A little sneak peek of the passion that the cousin brings to the college football betting. And that's all that we have for you today. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Picks with the Professor. A reminder, check out the Google Sheet for model picks, projections, and results. You can find that link and more at the website, www.pickswiththeprofessor.com. If you haven't done so yet, please click that subscribe button to ensure all the sports betting content we provide on this channel is dropped right into your feed. I will see you tomorrow. And until then, remember, you can eat your betting money, but please don't bet your eating money.